Joining me now is Philip Turle, our International Affairs Editor. Philip, to begin with, considering that Gaza is under a blockade, where is Hamas actually getting these rockets from?
Well, if you remember back in the beginning of the 2010-2011 era, Egypt had said that it was going to block off tunnels that were being used by Hamas to smuggle weapons into Gaza. This was also one of the aims of Israel. Many of those tunnels have been closed off, and Egypt has even built a security center just on the border with Gaza to prevent any weapons from being smuggled in there. But the weapons are still getting in. And surprisingly, in the second half of last year, Hamas actually went public talking about how it obtains weapons, saying that it can actually produce its own weapons. It can produce M75 missiles, which it says are helped by plans which have been sent into Gaza from Iran. And it says that it can use either weapons that are being illegally brought into the Gaza Strip by sea. Sometimes they're put in barrels that are dropped into the sea that are then washed up on land, and those are difficult to detect by the Israeli authorities. Or they can make their own weapons using drain pipes, and they can also use leftovers from the Israeli missiles that are fired into Gaza. So I think one of the reasons that Hamas went public with this was to show that even though there is a blockade of Gaza, even though Gaza has been free of Jewish settlements since 2005, there is still no reason for them not to produce weapons, and they can carry on doing that despite the blockade. Of course, this is not very good news for Israel, because it means these missiles are going to keep coming. Mostly they will fall in areas close to Gaza, but at times they have gone further, and that's what we've seen in the past few hours with these missiles getting as far as Jerusalem.
Now, of course, this is happening against the backdrop, Philip, of the delay to the Palestinian elections and the fact there is now an attempt to form a new Israeli government after the latest election. So how much has the power vacuum on both sides exacerbate this situation?
Well, I think that there's no one reason that we have seen these latest clashes erupt. Of course, there is the plan to kick out these Palestinian families from East Jerusalem and to replace them with Jewish settlers. That was the spark that set off these riots. But there are a whole lot of underlying factors that can create trouble very easily and very quickly between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And I think that the fact that there is no real probability of elections in the Palestinian territories anytime soon. They've been delayed again by the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas because of what he says is Israel's intransigence in East Jerusalem concerning voters there. And the fact that there is a void as far as the Israeli government is concerned also means that there's really no prospect of any kind of peace discussions taking place anytime soon between the two sides. And that has exacerbated tensions, I think, not only on the side of the Palestinians, but also on the side of the Israelis. And I think on top of that, the Palestinians feel that after 4 years of Donald Trump in the White House, of movement from the move of the embassy, the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the signing of agreements between Israel and Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, all their hopes for a two-state solution, for any hope of peace, for a return of refugees to the Palestinian territories, and even having East Jerusalem as the future capital of a Palestinian state. All of those hopes are still waiting. There is no chance that any of these are going to be discussed soon. And I think the feeling amongst many Palestinians is that all their hopes of peace in the future have been kicked into the long grass, and they'll just have to keep waiting. And that, of course, makes them feel they have nothing to lose by going on the streets and creating trouble, throwing stones and protesting. And I think there's also, on the side of the Israelis, much frustration about the fact that this peace process isn't going anywhere. Most of them would like to live in a situation of peace and calm. And that makes it a much more tense situation when it comes to the way that Israel is dealing with this. And of course, the international calls haven't really done anything to come up with any kind of solution as well. So all of this is a situation that is highly inflammable and unfortunately could ignite again at any moment.
Philip Turle, thank you for that.